The pregnancy test trembled in Eliza's hands as two pink lines appeared, confirming what she had suspected for weeks. One night with James, her employee, a man she'd secretly admired for months, had changed everything. Now, as she stood in his doorway watching him cradle their 3-month-old daughter with such tenderness, she knew she couldn't keep her feelings hidden any longer. "James, there's something I need to tell you. If you're enjoying this story already, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that explore life's unexpected turns. Your support helps us continue bringing these heartfelt stories to life." 3 months earlier, James Parker stared at the text message that had appended his carefully structured life. "We need to talk. I'm pregnant." The sender was Mia Collins, a woman he'd spent exactly one night with after the company holiday party. A night that had been wonderful but clearly a mistake. They'd both agreed it was just that, one night. James was focused on his career at Reynolds Architecture, where he'd recently been promoted to senior designer. Romance wasn't in his 5-year plan. Yet here he was, sitting in his modest apartment, trying to process the fact that he was going to be a father. "This can't be happening," he muttered, running his fingers through his dark hair. At 32, James had always imagined having children someday, but not like this, not with someone he barely knew, and certainly not while working 60-hour weeks under the demanding eye of Eliza Reynolds, the firm's brilliant but intimidating owner. When he met Mia for coffee the next day, her eyes were rimmed red from crying. "I'm keeping it," she said firmly before he could even speak. "But I want to be clear, I'm not asking for anything from you. I just thought you had the right to know." James felt a strange mixture of panic and indignation. "You think I'd just walk away? That's not who I am, Mia. We don't know each other, James. One night doesn't make us family." "Maybe not," he said, surprising himself with his conviction. "But this baby changes that." Over the following weeks, James and Mia attempted to navigate their new reality. They weren't in love, they weren't even dating, but they were connected now by something profound. They attended doctor's appointments together, awkwardly sitting in waiting rooms filled with couples who held hands and shared secret smiles. At work, James struggled to maintain his focus. The firm was competing for its biggest project yet, the revitalization of the city's waterfront district, and Eliza expected nothing less than perfection from her team. "Parker, these renderings aren't up to standard," Eliza said one evening, her voice sharp as she reviewed his work. At 40, Eliza Reynolds was everything James aspired to be professionally: confident, visionary, respected. With her auburn hair always perfectly styled and her tailored suits projecting authority, she had built Reynolds Architecture from nothing into one of the most sought-after firms in the city. "I'll fix them tonight," James promised, avoiding her penetrating gaze. "See that you do. I need your best work, not whatever distracted effort this is." She paused, studying him. "Is everything all right? You've seemed elsewhere lately." For a moment, James considered telling her the truth. But revealing his impending fatherhood to his boss felt too personal, too complicated. "Just some family matters. Nothing I can't handle." Eliza nodded, but her expression suggested she didn't quite believe him. "My door is open if you need to talk. The waterfront project needs your talent, James." As she walked away, James couldn't help but notice how she'd used his first name, something she rarely did with employees. There had always been a tension between them, a professional chemistry that occasionally hinted at something more. But James had never dared cross that line, and Eliza maintained a careful distance from all her employees. The pregnancy progressed, and so did the complications. At 5 months, Mia developed preeclampsia, requiring bed rest and reduced stress. Her freelance graphic design work suffered, and with it, her income. "I can support you both," James insisted during one of their now regular dinner meetings to discuss the baby. "I don't want to be dependent on you," Mia argued. "We're not together, James." "But we're in this together," he countered. "At least let me help until you're back on your feet." Their arrangement remained undefined, Not quite a relationship, but more than just co-parents. James found himself spending weekends helping Mia prepare the nursery in her apartment, assembling furniture and painting walls a soft yellow. They developed a friendship built on mutual respect and shared purpose, if not romance. At work, the waterfront project consumed everyone's attention. James worked late nights, pouring his anxiety about impending fatherhood into creating his best designs. Eliza often stayed late too, and they found themselves alone in the office more frequently, sharing takeout dinners over blueprints and 3D models. During these quiet evenings, James glimpsed a different side of Eliza, less the demanding boss, more the passionate architect who had once been just like him, young, ambitious, dreaming of leaving her mark on the skyline. "Why didn't you ever have children?" James asked one night, immediately regretting the personal question. Eliza looked up from her sketches, surprised. "I never found the right time," she said after a moment. "Or the right person, I suppose. The firm became my baby." She smiled wryly. "Not quite the same, is it?" "I wouldn't know yet," James said, then froze, realizing his slip. Eliza's eyebrows rose. "Yet? Is there something you want to share, Parker?" The weight of his secrets suddenly felt too heavy to bear alone. "I'm going to be a father," he admitted. "In about 3 months." The shock on Eliza's face was quickly replaced by something else, disappointment. "I see. And the mother is someone I'm not with." It was complicated. Life usually is. Eliza gathered her papers, her movements suddenly brisk. "Congratulations. You should go home and rest. Tomorrow will be another long day." The distance between them grew after that night. Eliza assigned another designer to work directly with James on the waterfront project, reducing their one-on-one interactions. James told himself it was for the best. His life was about to become infinitely more complex, and whatever unspoken connection he'd felt with Eliza was surely one-sided anyway. At 7 months, Mia's condition worsened. The doctors decided to perform an emergency C-section when her blood pressure became dangerously high. James was in the middle of a presentation when he got the call. "Mr. Parker, you need to come to Memorial Hospital right away. Ms. Collins is being prepped for surgery." James looked up to find the entire conference room staring at him, including Eliza. "I have to go," he said, already gathering his things. "It's the baby, it's coming early." He was halfway to the door when Eliza's voice stopped him. "Take my car," she said, tossing him her keys. "It's faster than waiting for a taxi. Go." The next 12 hours passed in a blur. Emma Parker Collins was born weighing just 4 pounds, 3 ounces, tiny but fighting. Mia, however, suffered complications during the surgery. As the doctors worked to stabilize her, James found himself alone in the NICU, staring at his daughter through the plastic of the incubator, terrified and awestruck in equal measure. "She's beautiful," came a voice behind him. James turned to find Eliza standing there, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I thought you might need support." She stepped closer to the incubator. "She has your eyes." James felt tears threatening. "Mia's still in recovery. They're not sure when she'll wake up." Eliza placed a hand on his shoulder, the first time she had ever touched him outside of a handshake. "She'll pull through. And in the meantime, your daughter has you." Eliza stayed with him through the night, bringing coffee, speaking with doctors, and simply sitting beside him in silence when words failed. When morning came and Mia still hadn't regained consciousness, Eliza finally said, "You need to rest, James. Go home, shower, sleep for a few hours. I'll stay with Emma." "You don't have to do that," James protested weakly. "I want to," Eliza said simply. When James returned to the hospital that afternoon, he found Eliza in a rocking chair in the NICU, having somehow convinced the nurses to let her hold Emma. The sight of his boss, the formidable Eliza Reynolds, cradling his tiny daughter with such gentleness struck him deeply. "The doctors say Mia is stable," Eliza told him. "But she's still unconscious. They're concerned about possible neurological effects from the high blood pressure." The following days established a pattern. James divided his time between Emma in the NICU and Mia's bedside. Eliza rearranged the firm's schedule to cover James's projects and visited the hospital daily, bringing food, clothes, and a steady presence that James came to rely on more than he wanted to admit. A week after Emma's birth, Mia finally opened her eyes. The relief was short-lived, however, as it became clear that she had suffered a stroke during or after the delivery. Her right side was partially paralyzed, and her speech was affected. "She'll need extensive rehabilitation," the neurologist explained. "Possibly for months." The reality of their situation hit James like a physical blow. He now had a premature daughter in the NICU and her mother was facing a long recovery with an uncertain outcome. How could he possibly manage it all? That night, sitting alone in the hospital cafeteria, James finally broke down. The tears he'd been holding back for days came in racking sobs that he couldn't control. "James." Eliza's voice cut through his grief as she sat down across from him. "Talk to me." "I can't do this," he confessed. "I don't know how to be a father to Emma and support Mia through her recovery and keep my job. It's impossible." "You don't have to do it alone," Eliza said firmly. "What choice do I have? Mia has no family nearby. Mine is across the country. We're not even a couple, we were just trying to figure out co-parenting, and now this." Eliza was quiet for a long moment. "Take a leave of absence," she finally said. "Paid. For as long as you need." James stared at her. "The firm can't afford that." "The waterfront project." "The firm will manage," Eliza interrupted. "Some things are more important than architecture, James." 2 weeks later, Emma was strong enough to leave the NICU. Mia, however, was transferred to a rehabilitation facility where she would need to stay for at least 3 months. The question of who would care for Emma became urgent. "I want you to take her," Mia said during one of her more lucid moments. Her speech was slurred, but her determination was clear. "I can't care for her like this. You're her father." "Mia, are you sure? This is temporary, you'll recover. Even then, I won't be able to give her what she needs, not right away." Tears slid down Mia's face. "Please, James. Give our daughter the stability I can't provide right now." And so James became a single father to a newborn while supporting his child's mother through recovery. He converted his home office into a nursery, learned to change diapers and prepare bottles, and survived on less sleep than he'd thought humanly possible. Through it all, Eliza remained a constant presence. She visited regularly, bringing meals and often staying to hold Emma while James showered or simply collapsed on the couch for a few precious minutes of rest. She never mentioned work, never pressured him about returning, and never complained about covering his responsibilities at the firm. One evening, as Emma slept peacefully in her bassinet and James and Eliza shared a quiet dinner, he finally asked the question that had been nagging at him. "Why are you doing all this, Eliza? You're my boss, not my family." Eliza set down her fork, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps I've come to care about what happens to you. To both of you. But why? I'm just an employee, one who's currently not even working. Is that all you think you are to me?" Eliza asked softly. The question hung between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. Before James could respond, Emma began to cry, breaking the moment. As the weeks passed, James settled into fatherhood with a mixture of terror and joy. Emma thrived under his care, gaining weight and developing a personality that seemed impossibly complete for someone so tiny. Mia made slow but steady progress in rehabilitation, celebrating small victories like holding a cup or standing unassisted. James visited her with Emma several times a week, ensuring that mother and daughter maintained their bond. Mia watched him with their child, noting his confidence and the natural way he responded to Emma's needs. "You're a good father," she told him during one visit. "Better than I expected." "I had help," James admitted, thinking of Eliza. Mia smiled knowingly. "Your boss. The one who visits you almost every day." "She's been supportive," James said carefully. "James," Mia said, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks, "I see how she looks at you. And how you look at her." "Mia, there's nothing." "Maybe not yet," Mia interrupted. "But there could be. And that's okay." 3 months after Emma's birth, James prepared to return to work part-time. He had hired a nanny, a grandmotherly woman named Ruth who had raised 5 children of her own, and established a routine that seemed sustainable. Mia was now able to have day passes from the rehabilitation center and spent Saturdays at James's apartment with Emma. The night before his return to Reynolds Architecture, Eliza came for dinner as she often did. Emma was already asleep, and the apartment was quiet as they sat on the balcony, watching the city lights. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Eliza asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," James replied. "Thank you, for everything. The leave, the support. I couldn't have done this without you." Eliza looked down at her hands. "There's something I need to tell you, James. Something I should have said a long time ago." James felt his heart rate quicken. "What is it?" "When you told me you were going to be a father, I was disappointed. Not because I judged your situation, but because—" She took a deep breath. "Because I had feelings for you. Feelings that I knew were inappropriate given our professional relationship." James stared at her, stunned. "You never said anything." "How could I? I'm your boss." "It would have been an abuse of power." She met his gaze directly. "And then when Emma came early and you needed support, I told myself I was just being a friend, a decent human being. But the truth is, these past 3 months have shown me that what I feel for you is real. And it's not going away." "Eliza," James began, but she held up a hand. "You don't need to respond. I know your life is complicated enough. I just wanted to be honest before you came back to work. If you want to transfer to another team or even another firm, I'll understand completely and provide glowing recommendations." James reached across the table and took her hand. "The night with Mia, it happened because I was trying to forget about my feelings for you. Feelings I thought were one-sided and inappropriate." Eliza's eyes widened. "You never gave any indication." "Neither did you," he pointed out with a small smile. "We're quite a pair, aren't we?" "What about Mia?" Eliza asked cautiously. "Mia and I will always be connected through Emma, but we both know we're not meant to be together romantically. She's actually the one who encouraged me to be honest about my feelings for you." "And what are those feelings, exactly?" Eliza asked, her professional confidence nowhere to be seen. James squeezed her hand. "I think I've been falling in love with you for a long time. Watching you with Emma, seeing how you supported us both without hesitation, it only made those feelings stronger." "This won't be simple," Eliza warned. "There are professional considerations, and you have Emma to think about." "Nothing about my life is simple anymore," James said with a laugh. "But that doesn't mean it can't be wonderful." As if on cue, Emma's cries came through the baby monitor. James stood, but Eliza rose with him. "May I?" she asked. James nodded, and together they went to comfort the tiny person who had, in her own way, brought them together. 3 months after one life-changing night had resulted in an unexpected pregnancy, James Parker found himself embarking on a different kind of unexpected journey, one with his former boss by his side and his daughter in his arms, forming a family he had never imagined but now couldn't imagine living without. As L.